Hey you guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we're going to be talking about all the books that I want to read in the month of July. First of all, I read quite a few books on my Kindle. I've been a bit on a Kindle kick right now. It's been really easy for me to kind of fly through the books on my Kindle and be talking through some of my Kindle must reads that I have kind of stacked up on my TBR, as well as some of the audiobooks that I want to listen to for this month. And I also have a physical TBR that I want to go through as well. I'm going to be on vacation this month, so I'm really looking forward to sitting on the beach, reading through some of these really cute, like romancy type reads and some quick hitter type reads while I'm on vacation. So we have quite a few different types of books that I've selected, and I can't wait to kind of go through these with you guys for this month. So let's start with some of the Kindle TBR books that I have lined up. The first one that I want to read is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. This is a new release. It's her latest release from this year, and we are following a singer and a songwriter, I believe. The two of them don't necessarily like each other at the beginning, so I think it's a little bit more of like a enemies to lovers type of trope. They are forced to work together to write a song. So I absolutely love this type of story where music is incorporated in the book. So I'm really interested to see if I'm gonna like her latest release. There are elements of magical realism that she incorporates into her love stories. So I'm intrigued. I am really curious to see how I'm gonna really enjoy Sounds Like Love. The next book on my Kindle is actually the book that we're going to be reading for my monthly book club, and that is Killers of the Flower Moon by David Grann. David Grann, I've read two other of his books, The Lost City of Z, I believe, and then the other one is The Wager. So David Grann's writing is actually really fascinating. He has a journalism background, and he kind of goes down the rabbit hole of investigating these various historical events and piecing together the story through research. Killers of the Flower Moon is specifically focused on the birth of the FBI, which sounds incredibly fascinating to me, and I think is a really interesting read to kind of kick off the 4th of July weekend. I love his writing. I am really intrigued to see kind of what we will think about this, and it'll be a really good discussion. I've heard from my group so far of those that have already read this book, The Killers of the Flower Moon, that it is very sad. I am really curious to see how it's going to go. I kind of want to go in a little bit blind, so for that reason, I'm not going to give a big backstory, but just know that it is about the birthplace and the creation of the FBI in America. The next book that is on my TBR from my Kindle is actually a Kindle Unlimited book, and it is called Direbound. Direbound is a dark romantasy book. I believe it is focused on our main character, and she is a warrior in this fantasy world, and somehow she gets bonded to another warrior. There's a love triangle. There's lots of monsters and magic in this book. I actually wanted to read this based on a recommendation that I saw from Emmy is Reading, and she seemed to really love it, and she reads a lot of dark romantasy and romantasy type books, so I'm going to be picking this up based on her recommendation. And if you guys have read this, please leave a comment down below, or if you recommend Direbound. I'm trying to get more into romantasy and fantasy in general. I typically read mysteries and thrillers, which I don't believe I have any stacked up for this month's TBR. So I'm trying to add in some different types of genres and types of books into my palette to see if my tastes are going in a different direction. So Direbound, I'm super excited to be reading this. Also want to go into this a little bit more blind, just so I can have a surprise and see if this is something that I would be interested in reading more of this like dark romantasy type of genre. Oh, I almost forgot about the other book that I wanted to read on my Kindle, and that would be Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is her latest release, which is following a woman astronaut in the 1980s and kind of her background and her story into becoming an astronaut for NASA. And it's focused more on female friendship as well, and kind of the time period and what this means for women to kind of get into science, especially as an astronaut. This is not something that is typically seen very much during that time period. So I'm really curious to see how I'm going to enjoy it. I've actually already started this book. I'm like maybe 30% in. I'm enjoying the writing, I'm enjoying the character developments, and I'm also really enjoying the science writing that's in this. There's a lot of discussion and background into the history of NASA and the different types of spaceships and satellites and things like that. So I'm really excited to read Atmosphere and see if maybe Taylor Jenkins Reid is going to be another author that I'm going to pick up more books of. Next, I'm going to be going through some of the audiobooks that are on my TBR. The first one is The Rose Bargain. Rose Bargain is a new release for this year as well, and I believe it's very similar to The Selection, but set in a fantasy world. I also don't know too much about it. I'm going to go in a little bit blind, as you will see with most of my TBR for Kindle and audiobooks. I like to be surprised. So for that regard, I'm not going to speak too much more about The Rose Bargain, but that is one of the books that is on my audiobook TBR for this month. The next book that is on my audiobook TBR is going to be The Names by Laura Knapp, I believe is how you say her last name. This is literary fiction, so it's very different than what I typically read, but I am intrigued based on the synopsis of this book. This book is focused on the importance of names, and specifically it is going through a family and kind of the history with naming each of their kids through time. So I am really curious to see kind of like the profound impact this may have on my thinking of the importance of names and how that can play out into somebody's character and their purpose in life. I've heard really good things about the names. It seems very similar in line with The Bright Years, which I read the first week of June, and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. So I'm trying to incorporate a little bit more literary fiction into my monthly reads, just to see if this is going to be another type of genre that I'm going to gravitate towards and see if this is something that I could see myself reading more of. That concludes the audiobooks that I have on my TBR for this month of July, and now I'm going to talk through some of my physical TBR. The first book on my physical TBR is The Lion Woman of Tehran. I have read one other book by Marjan Kamali, and it was The Stationery Shop, which I gave 5 stars. I absolutely love The Stationery Shop, so I'm really excited to read another one of her books. This is focused on female friendship, which I think is a really underdone trope. There needs to be way more books about female friendship. Specifically, this is about 2 friends in Tehran during the 1950s or 60s, I believe. 1950s. So it's following these 2 women and their friendship. During this time, Iran is going through a revolutionary phase, almost like a kind of like upheaval of their government. So that is incorporated into this story and how that plays out on these 2 women's friendships, and also the differences in their class structure. I think one of the friends is very wealthy and the other comes from a poorer background. I absolutely love her writing. It is very beautiful. I know this book is going to make me cry, so I need to really plan out when I read this. I probably will not read this while I'm on vacation, but I could really see myself sitting down reading this maybe on a day where it's rainy and really sitting into that mood of having something a little bit more sad into my TBR. The next book I'm going to be reading is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This is supposed to be a cutesy rom-com. We're following a wedding situation, and at this wedding, everybody gets food poisoning. It's absolutely horrible, and the only 2 people that are unaffected are 2 people that do not like each other. I think it is the best man and one of the bridesmaids. The 2 of them actually end up going on the honeymoon because the bride and groom also have food poisoning. So they spend 10 days in Maui together, forced proximity. They do not like each other, but we all know it's a romance, so they're going to fall in love. And it's going to be absolutely cute and hysterical. I've heard really good things about this book. The fact that it's absolutely hilarious. And I'm here for a silly, goofy, fun time, and I think this will be a really good book to incorporate with some of the other heavier reads that I have for this month. The next book that I have is actually a fantasy book by an author that I have not read anything from yet, which is insane to me, and I need to read more of his books, and that is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson has written, probably more books than I have fingers and toes. He has so many books out right now, and Tress of the Emerald Sea is actually a really unique story. He originally wanted to do this as like a secret special project for his wife, as a gift to his wife, which I think is really endearing and romantic, but his wife loved it so much she was like, you have to absolutely publish this, which he ended up doing. I'm just gonna read the back for you really quick because I think this summarizes the story really well. The only life Tress has known on her island home in an emerald green ocean has been a simple one, with the simple pleasures of collecting cups brought by sailors from faraway lands and listening to stories told by her friend Charlie. But when his father takes him on a voyage to find a bride and disaster strikes, Tress must stow away on a ship and seek the sorceress of the deadly midnight sea. Amid the spore oceans where pirates abound, can Tress leave her simple life behind and make her own place sailing a sea where a single drop of water can mean instant death? And there you have it. I think this is absolutely perfect for a summer read, so I'm really excited to read this for the month of July, and I think this is going to be one of the books that I pick up while I'm on vacation. The last book on my physical TBR is The Ministry of Time. I've heard really good things about this book as well. This is a science fiction romance story. So in this book, the British government has figured out time travel, and we're following a woman who works for kind of like the Ministry of Time, I guess you could say. And her job is to be a tour guide slash like fellow companion to this man who's from the 1800s that they bring back into the future. And so the two of them are forced together, forced proximity, and there's also magical realism with the time travel element. I'm so curious to see what I'm going to be thinking about this. This seems like a crossover genre that doesn't get explored very much with science fiction romance, and I'm curious to kind of see if this is another genre that I'm going to really gravitate towards in the future. So there you have it. That concludes today's monthly TBR for the month of July. If you guys have read any of these books, please feel free to leave a comment down below and let me know which one of these I should read first. Thank you guys so much for sticking around for today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!